Hey everybody, happy Easter. It's Saturday here, day before Easter, up here at the shop fiddling around a little bit, and we're having our family get together up here with the family from the Portland area, and my sister-in-law Karen came over to hang out with us a little bit. And of course, I'm an early bird, can't sleep, so I came up here to fiddle around a little bit and make a video. I've not made one in a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. I've been on, head down running, trying to get ready for retirement. I've got 3 months and 29 days to go yet before I retire and try to do this, on a more regular basis, as videos will come on a more regular basis too. Today I want to talk a little bit about what I got going on here in the shop and show you some of the things I've talked about a little bit as far as, engine location, headers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about chassis. I got a car that come in this last week that came in for just a little bit of tin work in the middle, and honestly this is far from ready to put tin work in, so I thought I'd share some of that stuff and talk a little bit about what we're going to do there. First and foremost, I'm not bashing anybody. These guys built a car. The car was fast, went down the track. It's just not how I would do it. So what I want to do is show you, with all my experience, how I would handle the repairs on this car. We'll do a series of videos on that. I originally wanted to talk about braking systems, stuff like that. I've had a lot of involvement in designing brake systems, and I know what it takes to make a car stop. That's one of the most overlooked things when guys are building cars is how are you going to make them stop? What are you going to use? I've talked about in previous videos about the Woolwood swinging pedals and the floor mounted pedals and stuff like that. Love those things. Those are the way to fly. But there's some other options out there that I'll want to show in a future video. But right now, let's talk a little bit about what we got going on with the Henry J here and why I've done what I've done. So pardon if the camera wiggles around a little bit, but here we go. I'm going to show you what the heck's going on in here, okay? Okay, last time you guys saw it, we might have had the motor propped up in it, but only part of the roll cage. Excuse the welder. But right now we've got the A-pillar bar in the car, the A-pillar bars, we've got the dash bar in it. It's turning out pretty darn good. Look inside here if you can see. We've got the, A-pillar bars tucked in. I got them where I could get them. I'm not a fan of bending these things. I've seen like some of the newer designs, guys are bending these stuff up to put roll cages in. Bent bars don't do nothing but bend more. Straight bars don't bend. Triangles are strong, rectangles aren't, okay? So, that being said, I had to prop the engine and the trans up in the car for a couple reasons. First reason being is you see the clutch fork here. This thing's going to have mechanical pedals, and I have to make the bell crank off the clutch pedal line up with that pivot fork, this pivot fork right here in the bell housing. So the pedal assembly will probably be back about in here somewhere in the car, probably 4 or 5 inches back from the firewall, but you have to make it so the clutch pedal will work, the pivot on the pedal, and I'll try to get one of them out and show you that in a minute or two. But one of the main things I wanted to talk about with this car, like I said, I talked in the past, was building a car around a set of headers. And as you can see, I've got my forward frame support bars bent and laying on top of these headers. The reason why I've done all this stuff is because he didn't want to buy a $1,200 to $2,500 set of headers, and it's about what I charge to build headers. These headers here he paid $200 for. I think I've mentioned in the past they're brand new Hooker fender wall exit headers. They work great on these kind of cars, and I determine motor location based on headers. The header has to clear the rocker. You got to be able to get the tubes around it. It's got to clear the front wheels and the frame and everything else. So I put the engine in the car to determine the height of this tube right here, which is the highest tube in this header kit, so that I could get this bar here over the top of that header. I'll hold this up here and show you what I'm talking about. What I want to do is fit this into, it fits into that corner like that. Come on. I'm a handicapped feller, so that gives us some clearance here, as you can see, and then lands on the frame rail out here. And that's what I was looking for by motor placement. That way I could get the headers on and off the car. I've seen so many cars built that you practically have to hold the header in place and drop the motor down in, and that's just like when you're trying to service a car like this, if you've got a head gasket blown or something, that's just no fun. Therein, this little bar I've got right here is clamped on the frame rail, and then that will help me hold this tube vertical when I put it on the car. That way I know it gives me some sort of reference to make both sides look the same. When I'm done tacking this side together, I'll move it over to the other side in the same location, fit and tack it, and that way the car will be asymmetrical. So, but anywho, you can see the A-pillar bar. This is sort of like McCamus does it. I like doing it this way. It's a little bit more welding in that one joint, but it just makes it a little bit easier, especially for a guy, a new builder, you know, that is going to have a hard time trying to bend that tube. Can I do it? Absolutely. It's just, I've done it this way for so many years, you know, put a halo bar in the car and then put the bars in like this. Is just how I do it. You can do it however you want to. This is how I do it. So that's where we're at with the Henry J. Hopefully by the end of next weekend the cage is completely finished and I can pull the body off and completely weld the chassis out. I'll pull the motor back out now. I know what I need to do there and finish putting some of my triangulation in. I got the door bars to put in, X's, I got gussets to put in the roll cage, get all that stuff done and get the chassis completely welded out. That's just how I do it. And then I will finish mounting the body, because you start putting all this stuff together, mount the body and all that, and then you weld it, stuff moves. It's steel. You heat it up, it's going to move around. So, you know, I've been there before where I've built the car and tacked it all together and hang it, and then all of a sudden the doors don't close right. So, and we can't afford that on this kind of stuff. So, another set of headers right there. This is like a 57 Chevy style side exit header, and it goes on this Ford Falcon. It's another project that come in the shop the other day, and it's a little bit more work than we thought. This car was campaigned by some guys out of the Carolinas in the Sega group, great bunch of people, and I'm telling you, I'm not taking nothing away from what they did, because this car was done and running. There's tons of them out there that have been parked in some of these garages that are 80% finished and they give up. These guys don't give up. They've got several cars, and in the process, everyone's been a lot nicer. So, but this one here, as you can see, it's got that forward strut bar raised up real high so they could get the headers out through that hole. Therein, they did the same thing. They built around the headers. And like I say, we saw some gaps in the tin work, and the tunnel was subpar, but I never really looked at the car close. You know, like I say, this thing went 560s, I believe. Pretty darn fast. And I mean, speedway axle and springs, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. The roll cage looked really nice. You know, the welds look good in it and everything else. The cage is really well built, but then when I got it in the shop and got it up on the lift, it was like, yeah, now I would quite do it. The roll cage is welded to the floor with little patches. I don't know if you can see them or not. I'm gonna try to crawl inside here and show you. The frame rails are, I don't know if you can see that, but it's like 1 inch, 1.25 inch square tubing that's just run sort of willy-nilly. They got two pieces in the middle welded side by side, and they're not even parallel. Then they got lift bars in the back. I'll show you a little bit of that, but the brackets are sort of, you know, triangulated, but I'm just, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Got exhaust pipe drive shaft loop in the top of it. And like I said, they got, if you look at this, they've got plates welded on the floor, if you can see that. A plate, and then they had a big hole cut in here for the clutch pedal was. In this car, they used the standard Falcon brake pedal, but on the outside out here in the firewall, you can see the hole. The master cylinder's not there, but they used an 1 1/8" Corvette style disc master cylinder. And those things, like when you're running something like this, they don't allow enough effective pedal pressure or pressure on the caliper to stop the car right. So this thing probably stopped a little bit hard. So anywho, I'm gonna try to crawl out from underneath here. Real nice wheels. Got American wheels on front and back. Like I say, it had lift bars on it. That part's not bad. Coil spring versus a leaf spring. The mounts are, I'm not going to use them. The bottom's a little bit subject, but some of the things I saw, the back of the bracket is open. You can see that, and not welded completely. So that tends to want to allow these brackets to fold up. So we'll clean those up and cap them, fix the housing. The wheelie bar bracket got bent somehow. But, you know, out here in the brakes, scary. This is an early Ford hangout, which is 2 3/8 from the face of the housing to the face of the axle. And they had a Torino brake kit on it. Well, a Torino, the late Ford, measures from here to here 2.5 inches. So to fix that problem, they put washers over the studs. And then to get the wheels to work, they used a 1-inch spacer and a tapered lug nut. So we got a lot of fixing to do there. I'll change the hangout. You can just put a shim in here on the axle and shim the axle out 1/8 of an inch, and everything's good to go. So, I mean, honestly, everything points the right direction. Some of the welds are a little bit subpar, but then there's like pieces in the middle that just don't make any sense to me, why they did what they did. But like I said, this car was going down the track. It was doing okay. What we're going to do is we're going to end up hauling it out. I'm going to save the roll cage. It's a little bit harder to save them and reuse them than it is to just cut it out and throw it away, but I'm not throwing this whole car away. It's not going to happen. I'm going to reuse the rear frame rails and the lift bars, and you know, they did a lot of good things. I'm not taking nothing away from them. So then we got a pile of parts here, and this is what I was going to do in the beginning, is replace the clutch tunnel, the bell housing tunnel and the drive shaft tunnel, and just sort of dress this up a little bit. You know, drive shaft, wheelie bars, radiator, fuel cell seats or Mustang seats. I'll use all that stuff over. Headers, I'm just going to change the collectors on the headers, make them look a little bit better. But all in all, you know, not a bad car. Not a bad car. So, like I say, nothing against these guys. They were going down the track, and I'll credit anybody that's got a car going down the track. And they were competitive too. Still are. You know, not taking nothing away from them, but we got a box of parts to use over, and we'll end up building a car similar to Jumpin' Jack Flash. So, Camaro, I'll show you a little bit there. The tube and bender, been using that a lot. Travis, if you're looking, that's my tube and bender. All that stuff came basically from MSC, parts and pieces. So Camaro, like I say, it's under wraps. I got some of the trim out, getting ready to put the glass in it before we paint it. The chassis painted. I don't know if I showed you that, but I painted the whole chassis. Yeah. Of course, you know, the cover wants to stick to everything, but that's all painted gloss black and looks really nice. That's all ready to put together. I'm in here working on doors and hood and deck lid, trying to final sand them out. The doors ended up being full of pinholes, so I've got glazing compound on them and trying to work them out. The hood's ready for the final sand. Got the final coat of primer and sand, ready to sand that out to 400 grit. So she's all going good. We're keeping busy here, and like I say, gonna have us a frosty beverage later on and enjoy life with the family. So like I say, just wanted to share a little bit and keep y'all in the loop. Oh, too, by the way, you're building these cars, a good practice to get into, and I've not done it yet. It's like in this area right here where this tube attaches to this, drill an 1/8" gas vent hole there so it's not blowing out and contaminate your tungsten if you're TIG welding. My recommendation again is if you're a first-time builder, go buy a chassis kit. Chassis Engineering has a race car in a box. S&W offers kits. When I first started out, I worked in an Alston chassis shop, and we built those Pro Gas chassis, which are, in my opinion, are still awesome car. It's a universal sort of kind of fits all thingy, and they are, I mean, there's been thousands of them built and work extremely well. So anywho, that's where we're at here, working on the old Falcon and trying to get the Henry J going. Things should start happening in a hurry right now. So thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.